Welcome to the Virtual Bowl Boys podcast. My name is Chris. I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
You can make most drinks better if you put lemonade in it. You got a Sprite? Mix it with some lemonade. Got ginger ale? Put some lemonade in it. Even a cranberry juice. Cranberry lemonade. It's delicious.
You drink milk? Put lemonade in it.
Maybe not that one. I legitimately think there's like a reaction that lemonade and milk have with each other.
Really? Oh, no.
That you don't want. Or no, that's carbonating milk that you don't want to do. Don't put milk through like a carbonator because it makes it taste like the worst.
Why would you do that? That's just...
internet content.
Oh,
and you think, carbonated
sense.
Milk.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be too bad. It is.
It probably is, and what about like orange juice and lemonade? Like
that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah,
it's very, very citrusy.
That would be extremely citrusy. What about lemonade and then like store bought like lemon juice? That's like not even like that's not, for some reason it is not just called lemonade.
Lemon juice and lemonade are different, Chris. You know that.
Well, okay, I know.
Lemonade is like sugary. Well, the lemon juice is just straight from a lemon.
Well, I know. I meant like people like do these drinks that is essentially lemonade because it's lemon and sugar, and they just don't call it lemonade for some reason.
I don't know.
So you can mix those two things together. It should be fine. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
You know, Matt. I immediately because of just the way things were today, I wanted to ask you to watch something, and I just didn't get the chance to do it. It's actually probably by the time, if we ever do it, it'll be like multiple weeks old at this point. Did you see the fucking everyone talking about the Eli Manning disguise thing that he did with Penn State?
Oh, the Chad whatever?
Chad Powers.
Chad Powers, yeah.
Kelsey,
how do they fall for that?
So that's the thing. So Kelsey ended up watching it before I did because I guess just showed up on her social media, and she like had the same reaction that I did once I watched it, which was just like, it just feels like so like weird and like a weird vibe around the whole thing that people were just like totally think that this guy was normal, and then like he started like ripping his face off and people were just kind of like, all right, like it was the weirdest fucking shit.
You know, when so many cameras are around, I think that it tips some people off.
Right. Well, like and like there's been times in the past where, you know, like when hitting camera stuff, they kind of explain like, oh, there's like the whole like undercover boss shit where you're like, oh, this person's just doing like a documentary. Yeah. Like, I talked about this a little last night in aggressive terms, but why do the Mannings still need to exist? Why do they need to be in their lives so much? I cannot stand them. Oh God,
they kind of suck, and also like. Yeah. Didn't Peyton Manning have that, like, sexual assault allegation that happened to him in college?
Yeah.
That we just don't talk about anymore?
We don't talk about it. We do not talk about it because he's funny. He has charisma.
He's not, though. He isn't.
Right. That's the amazing thing. Like, and you know what's even, like, to me, it's so sad because I even, like, watching that video of Eli with the Chad Powers thing, like, I was like, it would have been so much better to have Peyton do it, because Peyton can, like, have a little bit more charisma than Eli and act a little bit better. But the bar is fucking low. That's not a huge bar to clear, and by the time you get to Peyton, it's still, the bar is still very, very low, and yet people are just like, oh, he's funny, he's a funny athlete. The only thing that Peyton Manning is good at is like maybe like talking about football like as it's happening in terms of like his like describing it, and at that point just put him in the booth. He doesn't want to do it, and then we just get this obnoxious fucking sideshow for ESPN. It sucks. I hate it. It's fuck the Mannings. They're probably like, there's a lot of worse people in football, but they're
just like, they're the like They have very similar energy. They're what a lot of people say Russell Wilson is right now.
Right.
Just the ultimate cheese corn type of people.
100%. And don't get me wrong, Russell Wilson is extremely corny, but like
1,000,000%. But like the Mannings also are, and no one talks about it.
Right. It's horrible. It really sucks when you feel like you have a read on someone and no one else believes you. And the society as a whole does not believe you. It's just like, God, it's so frustrating. Anyways, welcome everyone. We are through 3 weeks of the NFL season. So, what does that mean for these teams? Where are they at? Or do they have a winning record? Do they have a losing record? Or are they completely at 500 like the Colts somehow? We'll talk we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about how there's players that might be falling under people's radar if you're not paying close attention. So we're going to talk about some of that in a segment we call Wake Up Sheeple. And of course, we're going to make our picks. But before we do that, we're going to talk about some of the games from last week, our reactions to it, starting with the GOATY. I keep on doing GOATY. It's game of the week, not game of the year. But it could be game of the year because there was a lot of shit going on in this game. It was Bills at Dolphins.
Second Gado in a row for the Dolphins.
Yeah, usually I like changing it up. I like doing different teams. But this week, especially the primetime games, were very ugly. And they were like, there were some really solid games in like the 1 o'clock area around the Bills Dolphins, but you just can't not talk about this game, which the Dolphins are now 3-0. They did it. They won. It was a close matchup, and the Dolphins ended up taking the lead. And at first it felt like that it was going to be they were going to put it away early, but then all hell broke loose when they went to punt in the end zone, I think after the 2-minute warning. And the punter punted the ball into a man's anus.
But punt.
And so that ultimately led to a safety for the Bills, and then the Bills got the ball and began to try to march down the field and get in range to potentially kick a field goal or at least get a touchdown in some way. Hold on, I just want to double check the scores here. I think it was close enough where so the Bills
field goal would have won it.
Yeah, Bills were trying to get to field goal range, but unfortunately they just couldn't get it done. The Dolphins defense did a really good job in this game. And ultimately Tua and the Miami Dolphins are 3-0, along with the Philadelphia Eagles, the only two remaining undefeated teams. Matt?
It's funny, these two undefeated teams were the two teams in the Super Bowl for the Ace Ventura movie, so everyone is really excited about that. Which
okay, sure.
Ace Ventura is a really funny movie that gets really transphobic at the end for no reason.
Oh yeah, that
just want to point that out.
That did not age well. That was not the best film to age well. But
when he comes out of the rhino's anus, though, that shit's still amazing.
Sure, 100%.
And makes more sense than the transphobia. Absolutely,
and I think a lot of anus talk to start this podcast.
It's fine.
It is very weird because I think that if you were to ask me, all right, through 3 weeks, who are the undefeated teams? And it would have taken me a while to get to the Eagles, but like I would get there eventually. The Dolphins would be one of my last teams that I would think would be 3-0.
Agreed.
Just not because I didn't believe in them. Like I think both of us kind of felt like they had a good chance at the playoffs, but it just would, considering that everyone else losing before them, is kind of surprising. And, things aren't all great for the Dolphins. Obviously, Tua had what I think a lot of us thought was a concussion. Turned out to be a back injury, or at least that's what they claim it is.
Yeah, but a really strange one.
Right. So the NFLPA is investigating that, and we'll find out what the results of that are, I'm sure, in the coming days.
From the current injury reports for this Thursday night, it seems to be, back-related.
Right. And so, now you have this short week where do you really want Tua to kind of, play in a turnaround here? But I think on the Bills side of things, I think the concern for them is going to be the fact that they lost Micah Hyde for the rest of the year. He did not play in this game, but his injury in week 2 kind of, I think, was enough to put him on IR and keep him out the rest of the year. Where Jordan Poyer, their other safety, was also out in this game. I don't know what his injury status is going into next week, but they got beat up on some key positions on defense, and then their offense against probably their best defense that they played thus far this year. I mean, maybe the Rams you could put in that conversation, but this is that they kind of showed that they have trouble getting short yardage a lot of the time, and I think that there's some cracks here. But do I think the Bills are doomed? Absolutely not. I think this is just I think it just shows that the AFC East might be a little bit more difficult than they thought, just because of the Miami Dolphins.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there you go. That's the good game of the week. What about the blowout of the week? Guess what? It's yet another appearance by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and yes, they are on the winning side again. 38-10, a 28-point victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. And obviously the Chargers are dealing with a lot of injuries. They lost Rashawn Slater for the year now.
Which sucks.
Which really is a bummer.
That's such a blow.
Joey Bosa, I think, is going to be out for a while. Justin Herbert obviously dealing with ribs. They've been missing Keenan Allen. They've been missing J.C. Jackson, or at least after he played in week 2, he was out in week 3. It is a bummer, man. I picked the Chargers to be a Super Bowl team. I think I picked them to win the Super Bowl. This has been a storied situation for the Chargers that date back years, where they can have this great team on paper, maybe the most talent-rich teams in the league, and consistently the injury bug gets them, the coaching bug gets them, something gets them and ruins their season, and it's kind of moving in that direction right now, and that just is such a bummer. I would say I feel bad for Chargers fans, but there's not many out there.
Oh my God.
So, sorry, not to rub even more salt in the wound, but that's just kind of the reality of it. Beyond that, though, Jaguars. I mean, this AFC South might be theirs for the taking. I know it's after 3 weeks. I know it's a little too soon to say that, but they've looked kind of good, Matt.
They have looked really good. This was a statement win for them. Trevor Lawrence is who we hoped he would be, who they hoped they would be. James Robinson, the Achilles doesn't bother him anymore. Christian Kirk, what the fuck? That monster wide receiver deal actually paid off.
It's funny, I think Trevor Lawrence hasn't done anything to wow anyone yet, but I don't think he has to. I think and that's kind of the crazy part about this, is the fact that they're able to win without him performing amazingly. He's still playing great, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he hasn't made these spectacular generational talent type plays yet.
He hasn't had to be a Burrow for this team.
100%. And that's the crazy part about this entire thing, is that this team is more talented than I think a lot of people gave them credit for. Again, look at the defense. They lead the league in turnovers, and you have an offense that is running that it does have more talent in terms of the weaponry than I think people maybe initially give credit for. They have a tough test this week, and I don't think it's going to be perfect the whole way, and for all we know, it could bottom out. Obviously, with the Jaguars, you can't believe fully in anything, but I'm very excited for this. I'm excited that they are surprising people, and I hope that they can continue to surprise and maybe pull out some wins that people are not expecting.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, the chaos of the week. Both of those games, by the way, could have been a chaos candidate. But, come on. You gotta talk about the fact that the Colts, the 500 football team somehow after week 3, has won against the Kansas City Chiefs after what seemed like was going to be, we thought going in was going to be like this, blowout. We thought that this was not going to work out for the Colts, but defense stepped up. The KC offense didn't really have a whole lot of. They had their moments, but they were kind of struggling on Sunday, and then ultimately, Matt Ryan, who I think a lot of people were kind of giving up on, he delivered. And of course, Michael Pittman having a solid day as well.
Michael Pittman is the secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot. So, but yeah, what do you think about this Colts victory, Matt?
Right now, I'm inclined to think that it could be a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're more interesting to watch, and this is probably who we thought they could, the type of competitive that they could be. They're who I thought they could be at the start of the season.
Maybe. I mean, they're still not they still don't have Shaquille Leonard.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a key, key player to get back. And Jonathan Taylor, only 71 yards on the ground. Maybe they get him the ball more, but yeah, there's hope for this team. And I would say maybe with the exception of the Texans, this was a hopeful week for the AFC South. In that, hey, this division might not be the trash fire that we thought. Maybe this can get competitive down the stretch, and that's where the Jaguars could stumble and the Colts come in, or the Titans come in. Again, don't really believe in the Texans at this point. Are you worried about the Chiefs?
No.
Yeah.
In the same way that I'm not worried about the Bills.
Yeah. It's still early, and
it's still early. They've had enough built up confidence over the past years that I think they'll still be able to pull it out.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes was it looked like that he was fighting with Eric Bieniemy on the sidelines before Andy Reid kind of pulled Mahomes away. But I think that sometimes people read a little too much into that, because I think people in a heat of a moment in competition may get annoyed with each other, and I don't think it's meant to be personal. I think it's just that they get angry or they just get frustrated with some things, and it happens. So yeah, I'm not at the worry point for the Chiefs just yet. We'll see how the rest pulls out. Anything before we go to our mid segment? Any particular games you want to shout out?
I'm gonna start doing. We don't have to spend a ton of time with them, but I want to start doing my own particular shout out for "You Should Be Ashamed of Yourself" game of the week.
Oh fuck yeah! Okay, I'm into this.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Broncos 49ers. You scored 11 points in a game and didn't come away with a scoregami. You should be ashamed with yourselves.
Right. Yeah. That was a very ugly game.
When someone has 5 points, you got to try to go for it, one way or the other.
Yeah. I think at that point the Broncos offense should have just lied down and just let that 5 points stand. They should not have gone for any extra touchdown or anything. They should have realized the scoregami must take over at that point.
Yep.
It's just the way these things go. All right. So let's talk about some sleeper players or teams. Either one. We can do anything. I think that it's important to shout out some players that might be becoming, becoming huge stars in this league. And that it right now might be like kind of under the radar, under people's nose. It's not really like people don't really want to truly acknowledge him. But you know what? Me and Matt, we're here to say, wake up, Sheeple.
Wake up, Sheeple.
It is time to acknowledge some of these players.
You know, it's very fitting because my dog is currently playing with his sheep squeaky toy in the background.
I heard that.
You hear?
I heard that in the background.
It is a sheep, so it's fitting.
It's fitting. Yeah, it's fitting. Matt, what do you want people to wake up to here? Like, what?
I want people to wake up to Roquan Smith, linebacker for the Chicago Bears. Had a weird contract situation at the start of the year, was represented himself, didn't quite get what he wanted, and now has to play to prove himself to get a long-term deal. And man, is he doing it. He's balling out. One of my favorite Bears players, just period right now. And I hope he stays around. I understand if he goes somewhere else, but I hope he stays around. He is a good football player.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that he has been, the interception to seal the game essentially for the Bears on Sunday was huge. And I think that if the Bears are going to hope to keep winning in some capacity, it's got to be their defense. And he is definitely one of the most important players in that group. So yeah, hell yeah for Roquan Smith. The player I want to shout out, and I think certainly you probably have seen this person's name talked about by some people if you're watching 49ers games, but Talanoa Hufanga. This is a strong safety that has been playing for the 49ers. I want to say that this is his second year. Yeah, he was a 5th round pick last year. He has been, I think, the best defensive player on the 49ers the last few weeks, and obviously it hasn't been the best season start for the 49ers. It's been kind of disastrous, borderline. But I think if there's any highlight for this team, it's him. So far, he's had 21 total tackles. He has had an interception. He's been very much in the backfield a lot, trying to either take down the quarterback or running backs. He's just done a really, really good job throughout the season thus far, and I think that he's worth watching, even though I think a lot of us would be thinking of the Nick Bosas or just anyone on the defensive line before anyone else. So he's been pretty solid overall this year. Who else do you have?
All right, this is gonna be a bit of a stretch, but I believe that Treylon Burks is going to end the year an insanely good wide receiver.
He's had a good start, man.
He's had a very I wouldn't say like out of this world start like a lot of other rookie wide receivers have. Like Olave and Drake London are like both doing fantastic stuff right now. Garrett Wilson too, but when the Titans offense starts clicking, and it feels like it clicked a little bit this past week, I think that he's gonna slot into AJ Brown, the AJ Brown role, just like they drafted him to pretty easily, and I think that people are not realizing that that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it played out the same way as like the Jamar Chase pick, where in the preseason, Treylon Burks was not, like, I think people were really worried about him. I forget for what the specific reason was, if he was not playing well or if he just wasn't playing at all, or just camp was not good for him. I forget about the specifics, but there was a lot of pessimism around him. But this, and again, it hasn't been blow your mind like Jamar Chase was, but like Treylon Burks, absolutely. I mean, 115 yards this far, right behind Woods on the team. But Woods, of course, has always been a reliable receiver when he was with the Rams. I absolutely would not be surprised to see him in the conversation maybe for offensive rookie, barring, of course, so someone else really, really showing off in the long term. This might be a little bit of a stretch too in term not in terms of like his performance, because his performance has been great this year. More so like, is he really a sleeper? But I just want to bring up Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions.
Yes.
He did not have the best game on this past Sunday because I think he got injured and was out for the rest of the game, but consistently he has shown that he is such a reliable weapon. He is maybe their most reliable weapon alongside DeAndre Swift. And he's just so much fun to watch. I really, really like him. I hope to see him continue to succeed. It was fun in watching on Hard Knocks. They had his father, who was a bodybuilder. In fact, I think he did have the title. I forget. It's like Mr. Worldwide, which I'm pretty sure is fucking Pitbull.
That's
like,
Pitbull.
But whatever the fuck the name is for the champion of bodybuilding, he was that. And him and his brother too. Who's on the Bears? I forget his first name.
Equanimous.
Yes, Equanimous.
By the way, Equanimous and Amon-Ra St. Brown are some of the best names in football.
100%. Yeah, and he's had a decent season with the Bears too.
He's probably the Bears' #1 receiver, honestly.
Right, and so like, I don't know, it's fun to see them balling out. And I do think though, like, I don't know what his current injury situation is. I hope he's okay. But I think he could. He's in the top.
Signs are good. He may miss a game, but he'll be fine.
Right. Yeah. He's in the top 10 in most stats right now, and he's the best wide receiver in yards after catch right now in terms of yardage. Like he's just having a really, really solid start to the year, and I think people should notice. All right.
I agree.
What's your last player here?
All right. So I want to talk about the 2019 quarterback draft class.
Okay.
Which is not a sentence that most people want to say.
Sure.
And I want to go through who, like, just a few names on who I think on this class in general. And I'm going to go from worst to best for, like, the relevant names. Like, I'm not going to talk about Jared Stidham or Trace McSorley. Like, no one cares about them.
Sure.
So, first is Drew Lock. He sucks. No one really cares.
Yeah.
Next is Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Who has shown like it is insane how athletic he looks, but also how unathletic he looks, and it's like there's no in between.
100%, absolutely.
It's mind-boggling. And then of course you got Kyler Murray, right? Who just got this new contract, weird contract, but got a new contract, but isn't doing much with it. Could be the coaching, could be himself, lack of weapons, lots of stuff. You want to see great things out of him, but you haven't yet. And then there's the player I want to talk about. Chris, can you think of anyone I'm forgetting?
No, but are you about to talk about? I don't want to spoil the reveal. I think I know who you're talking about. I can't think of another 2019 pick. Outside of, unfortunately, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins.
Rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. I'm not going to talk about him.
Yeah, that was.
I'm going to talk about Gardner Minshew.
That is not at all who I fucking thought you were going to talk about.
Who I legitimately think, next to Kyler notwithstanding, may be the best quarterback out of the 2019 draft class. And had he been on a team that was not the god-awful Jacksonville Jaguars a couple years ago, he may legitimately have like a starting job shot.
Where is he at
he is point? The backup for Jalen Hurts right now in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm like, wait a second. That's why it's such a blind side, because I was just like, who the fuck? Where is he?
Not currently a starting quarterback. Is on an NFL team. Is Philly's backup.
Okay.
But I legitimately think that if Gardner got a starting job somewhere, if he was the starter for maybe not the Texans, but if he's the next Colts carousel quarterback, that he has a legitimate shot to prove himself as not just the most interesting man in the world meme. Based on just the small flashes that we've seen from him.
100%. I actually the person I had in mind was not actually drafted in 2019. In fact, he was not drafted at all. He went undrafted in 2017. I was thinking you were going to talk about Cooper Rush, But
yes.
I just forgot where his origin story was. Anyways, that's a shocking one. But like, okay, so you mean though that they're sleeping on him because like he has not done anything yet this year, and that like we're not really gonna talk about him maybe until the off season where free agency might be
where
okay.
If he gets a chance, I legitimately think that he will take it and run with it. Maybe if he gets on the Commanders or the Colts. Type of deal, which is kind of everyone's fate right now if you suck. But
that's kind of the landing zone. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm supportive of this, and if it works out, I'll make sure I have it clipped out so we can play it back when Gardner Minshew is leading the Super Bowl champion fucking who knows what was the landing spot again? The Seahawks.
Could be Seahawks, Colts.
Or Colts. Yeah.
Minshew on the Seahawks. Return to Washington. That would be great.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like there's wherever he ends up going, we'll play it back if he is truly a success story. I had one that was this is another one that is maybe a little bit of a stretch of it if people are necessarily sleeping on him. But I want to give some love to Saquon Barkley, baby. I just think, the thigh monster is back, baby. All right, he has returned. He
won me some money last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy that the Giants went 2-0. I'm bummed that they are now 2-1, and I don't know. I feel like that was like the peak of this season probably for the Giants, but hey. Especially if like Sterling Shepard's gonna be out for a long time, like right now we don't know, but apparently it does seem like it's
ACL tear.
Oh, it was ACL tear.
Yep.
Was that recently confirmed? Because I missed that.
Confirmed earlier today.
Okay, I missed that, but yeah. So yeah, Sterling Shepard's out, and I think that's probably gonna give Kenny Galladay his chance to, get some love finally on the offense, but yeah, Barkley I think is just he's definitely showing like, oh yeah. That's right. That's why this guy was number 2 overall, because he actually can be a good player. I'm hopeful that he will continue to be successful. I'm hopeful he won't get injured. And it's just, again, Matt, when I talk about the Giants fandom, it's not so much that I need them to be playoff bound or anything. I just want them to be fun to watch.
Yep.
And with if he's playing well, they're going to be fun to watch. And that's what matters to me at this point. So there you go. Wake up, Sheeple.
Wake up, Sheeple.
All those players, pay attention to them. Especially Gardner Minshew, I guess.
Gardner Minshew.
But anyways, let us do our picks. But before we do that, let me tell you about our sponsors. Hi, everyone. It's Chris, and I'm back once again to tell you all about Anchor. Anchor by Spotify has actually been the tool of choice for Team Chaos Productions since the moment we decided to get into podcasting. And the biggest reason for this is it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or even your phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, but also Apple Podcasts and many more. And best of all, Anchor is free. You do not need to worry about any features being locked out to you. You can get it all if you just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Happy podcasting.
Sick of talking about video games with people who just want to be toxic? Me too. So join us over at the Gaming Coupe. We come together each month to talk about what we love about video games. Discussion topics range from our favorite soundtracks to the best relationships between characters. We also have some fun segments in which we play some trivia or build our school of gaming. Find us on Anchor or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Game on!
And we're back. Now, let's talk real quick. I have a few things I want to touch on before we actually get into the picks themselves. So last week, I went 9-7, got 2 points, got my guarantee, did not get my Team Chaos.
You got a guarantee, though.
I got my guarantee, though. Yes.
First one of the season.
Matt, you went 7-9. Did not get your guarantee. Did not get your chaos.
Yep.
So you went minus 3 points. And so overall, so far this season, I've been 26-21 with 4 points. You're 24-23, minus 2 points. But it's early, and that hole could be like can be closed by like 2 games. Like it is not very deep just yet. But what I did want to touch on is that I kind of teased this at the end of our first episode. This season, I have begun to keep track of how our performances with each team in terms of picking. So I'm not really gonna touch on the ones that are like just 2-1, 1-2, like whatever. Like that's the majority of the teams. Mm-hmm. I want to touch on the teams that we have gotten 3 correct, and the ones that we've gotten 3 wrong. Okay. Now, worth noting, because I was trying to think of how I wanted to do this. When it comes to the Texans and the Colts and their early season tie that didn't really exist, that game just wasn't played, I still count that towards a loss for us. Okay. Because we didn't get it right. We didn't predict the tie. Yeah. So I did count it as a loss. So having said that, so far, the team that both of us, we have a shared unity in the fact that we've gotten it right every single time, is the Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
Baby. We've picked the Atlanta Falcons right every single time, and so we're 3-0. I am also 3-0 with the Detroit Lions.
Hell yeah.
And a team that I very much believe in. Even though they're 1-2, I still believe in them. I still think that this team has some potential for some chaos down the stretch here. Matt, you are 3-0 with the Los Angeles Rams.
Damn. Okay.
So
I'll take it.
Yeah, that was you got the Bills pick right when they faced them. Then you picked against the Falcons with the Rams. You got that right, and then Rams against the Cardinals, all 3-0. Right. When it comes to the ones we've not gotten any right thus far,
there are gonna be a few of these.
So what's funny though is that we don't have any shared team that we've gotten all 3 wrong with, which I thought was interesting. For me, I have 2 teams, and it is the teams that just played on Thursday night, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Starfish. I'm 0-3 picking those games. Honestly, not super surprised. Those 2 teams are maybe the more ambiguous teams in the league, but you know what? I shouldn't even defend myself. I suck at picking them. Right? That's where it is. But anyways, Matt, you have 3 teams that you have not gotten a single game right yet. That includes the Colts.
Yes, figured.
That is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
And that's the San Francisco 49ers.
All checks out for me.
It does. And
to be fair, I cast against the 49ers in one game.
Absolutely. No, and it's early. Like like those things are going to play a factor in that. But right, yeah, the Colts, the Colts Jaguars, the Colts have been weird. They're always weird to start the season. Jaguars obviously are playing better than you thought, and then the 49ers are the team chaos, I think, maybe was played a part of that. But also the 49ers not as good as we thought coming in this year.
No,
thus far.
And Jimmy G stepping out of the end zone certainly doesn't help with that.
Oh man, pulled a Dan Orlovsky. I love it. Yep. But anyways, now that we have done that, giving you guys all the little details about that, we'll keep track of that. Maybe you'll get an update next week. Maybe you'll get an update a few weeks from now. Depends on how interesting it gets. I will let you know. But for now, it's time to make our picks. Matt, you just get us started here.
The Miami Dolphins take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Tua was limited today, may or may not be ready in time. Dolphins trying to keep their win streak alive. Bengals trying to continue their climb out of the basement. Who's going to win?
I get why the Bengals are favored in this game, but I even with Teddy, I just really like the talent on this Dolphins team. I think the defense is going to have a major impact on that Bengals offensive line that played better last week, but granted, the Jets don't really have a pass rush right now. I just really like this Dolphins team. I'm picking the Dolphins. I'm not doing anything special with it because I have told myself after last week I am not putting any qualifiers on a Thursday Night Football game because fuck that shit. But I will pick the Dolphins. I feel pretty good about that.
All right, this is my if this then that qualification for this game.
All right, well,
I'm picking the Dolphins if Tua plays.
Okay.
If Tua is playing, I will pick the Dolphins. If Tua is not playing, then I'd select the Bengals. I think that the Dolphins have a really good shot, but I don't fully think I think Tua is part of the reason for their success, and I don't know if they win that Buffalo game if Tua doesn't come back. So I'm going to pick the Dolphins if Tua plays. If Tua does not play, I will pick the Bengals.
Sure. Now, just remember to change it in your
yes.
thing.
You may have to help remind me, but
I will. But yes, that is the only thing. But I respect the conditional play there. All right. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. Now, of course, it's not quite at New Orleans Saints. This is a London game. We're in London, folks. Do you think they're over the Queen?
No.
Who do you think's gonna win?
I mean, the Saints have not looked good in 2 straight games. Jameis is fucked up. I think they have a good chance. They have a better chance, I'll say, if Andy Dalton plays, I think, instead of Jameis. But the Vikings started to show that they have an identity outside of Justin Jefferson. They should, include him in this identity.
Right.
But I think that the Vikings will be pretty good. Whether or not Dalvin Cook plays, I'm going to pick the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Vikings. If the Saints won against the Panthers, I maybe would have considered. This would have been more of a toss up for me, just because I was like, it's London, things are weird. Kirk Cousins doesn't do well in spotlights like this, and so I thought about the Saints in that regard.
It is morning though, so it's the exact opposite of prime time.
Right, and I just feel like the Suns' energy is just going to project Kirk Cousins forward into the W. So I'm going Vikings.
Are you implying that Kirk Cousins is some sort of plant man?
I mean, he tried everything to not get vaccinated. It felt like,
That's
so probably has a lot of plans inside him.
Sure. All right, Cleveland Starfish, call myself, take on the Atlanta Falcons. Cleveland coming off of whatever the fuck happened on Thursday night. Atlanta coming off of their first win against Seattle. Will Atlanta continue their streak of, using their good offensive players, or will the Browns take care of this?
You know what? Fucking, I kind of want to double down on being wrong about the Starfish. I don't want to be right about them, because because generally me being like, I just want this team to fail repeatedly, and so maybe I should just pick the Starfish. You know what? I'm picking the Starfish. I'm changing my pick. Initially I was like, I'm picking the Falcons to win, but you know what? I feel like maybe if I pick the Starfish, then the universe will say, "Oh wait, no, we need to keep him winless in picking the Starfish." So I want to keep
psychology in this whole thing.
Basically, that's essentially where I'm going at. I maybe that's the wrong way to go about it, but I don't know.
How do you feel about Starfish the Elf?
You know what?
In midfield.
You know what? I like it. Whatever pisses off the Starfish fans more, I'll take it.
So funny that they made that a poll. Because you knew you have to know that the internet's gonna fuck with it. I'm picking the Starfish too.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is thankfully okay after his car accident.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm guessing he won't play in this game, but he
Probably
could.
not. Yeah.
So he's okay. But I think that the Starfish have it a little bit more together than the Falcons still. But I would welcome the Falcons win. I'm just gonna pick the Starfish.
Yeah, I might go back to picking the Falcons at some point, but I'm right now where I stand. I'm sticking with Starfish. Next up, the Washington Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys. It's the communist versus the capitalist. Who's gonna win?
Huh. Well, I mean, Cooper Rush seems to be like the answer to all of the Cowboys' problems, so I'm gonna pick the Cowboys.
I that's why I was like, oh, you're gonna talk about Cooper Rush is the other great guy. But I'm gonna go Cowboys here. Just because I think that it is starting to. I think it's starting to become clear that while the offense still has a lot of issues, I think the Cowboys still have some issues on that front. The defense is once again the crown jewel of this Cowboys team, and they're playing really, really well. Obviously, Micah Parsons is, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence is. You have a lot of people. You have a lot of different players there that are doing really well.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna win.
It's cool. I was scrolling Twitter and came across a rapper who said that she wanted to be the Black Oprah.
Why do people like this? I don't understand.
I don't understand why people are like this. Anyway, Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. Seahawks coming off of another loss. Geno Smith not playing too bad, but they are getting outplayed in some areas. And the Detroit Lions, 2 very close losses and 1 pretty solid win. I think I know who you're going to pick in this matchup, but why don't you tell me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, not only am I picking the Lions, I'm guaranteeing the Lions. I believe in this team a lot. Look, not to say that the Seahawks have played horrible, but it hasn't been very good. And I feel like the Lions are showing, at the very least, they're going to be competitive in every single one of their games. And I think the more talentless teams are going to maybe be a little bit easier for the Lions to get by. And I think this is one of the situations. Plus, they're at home, and you know how I feel about home teams. I'm going Lions. Yep. Guarantee.
I'm also going to pick the Lions and guarantee them.
Hey!
I have used the Lions before recently, but I'm double dipping on both of my team cast and guarantee, just switching the column this week. Sure. So, and I didn't initially want to do that, but I'm rolling with it. Let's go Lions.
Yeah, no worries. Next up, the Tennessee Titans at Indianapolis Colts. Intriguing game. Both these teams coming off their first wins of the season. Colts, that beautiful symmetry of ones across the board, is going to get ruined in some capacity in this game. What do you think is going to happen?
Unless they lose. I think that seeing Derrick Henry... So... There's this fucking wild theory that another podcast I listen to watches, and I know I reference them a lot, but they're my only football media consumption.
Sure.
Apparently, when the snow falls in Vermont, first snowfall in Vermont is when Derrick Henry starts playing well. And that happened already. So I'm gonna pick the Titans because I feel like Derrick Henry has his stride. But this is not like a slam dunk Titans pick in any way.
Sure, yeah. I in the same vein of I'm not super sure. I'm going to pick the Colts. Cool. Maybe it's just coming off of them beating the Chiefs and being oh, maybe they actually do have a chance here. Yeah. I think there is something to be said about how I think this team's getting a little bit healthier. Maybe they get Shaquille Leonard back, and I feel like this Colts team always has these really brutal starts to the year, and then they start to bounce back. Maybe this is the start of the bouncing back, so I'm going Colts.
Alrighty. Hey, it's the Virtual Football Boys Bowl.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears versus New York Giants. Both teams somehow inexplicably 2-1. One more inexplicable than the other. How do you think this matchup is going to go?
God, yeah. Talk about a hard matchup to pick. You talked about Roquan Smith. You talked about, I think the things that I like from this Bears team right now, even though people have been slaughtering them on social media with how this is one of the worst offenses to ever be in a position of a winning record right now.
Shout outs to Secret Bases Dorktown, where they showed every game through 3 weeks and the number of pass attempts, and out of all of the whatever 16 times 3 is the 48 games that have happened this season, the Bears hold the bottom 3 in pass attempts.
Yeah. They are the living definition of a run first team. But I think it's going to work for them in this game. I kind of like them in this situation. I think that the Giants defense is still showing some struggles here and there, that even though that they definitely have played well at times, I still think they let the running back specifically get away with some big runs, and this is again a very good running team in the Bears. And
Khalil Herbert, big play.
Right, and I think that the offensive line once again is a huge problem for the Giants, and that the fact that they're going up against a pretty decent Bears defense, I think, is the reason why I believe more in the Bears in this one. So I'm going there.
This is a weird, bizarre world. I'm going to pick the Giants.
Love it.
It's because I feel so much more confident about the Giants' offense than the Bears' offense.
Sure.
Running game aside, like Daniel Jones, Saquon, good tight ends, like and a receiver who can hopefully step up. Like, I think the Giants have something more than the Bears do, and
Sure.
from like watching one Giants game this year versus watching 3 Bears games, I don't think the Bears are going to be able to do what they did. Like, the Giants are better than the Texans, and the Bears barely beat the Texans.
Sure. I
I
totally get that. I guess it's just the critical side of just like that offensive line is just get eaten up consistently.
We have differing viewpoints on our own teams. We are both pessimists about our home teams. So
right, exactly. That's how it happens. I
feel like this isn't the first time that we've had Bears versus Giants and we've picked each other's teams.
Probably it would not be surprising to me. Granted though, yeah, like I think I think this is the first season in a while though that I do want to see the Giants win. Where in the past I've been wanting them to keep on losing consistently. So it's definitely going to be a different vibe going into this game. I'm excited about it. I'm curious about how that's going to play out. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Philadelphia Eagles. Sneaky good game of the week. Maybe even one of the best that we'll see. Now, of course, the Jaguars, they did not have the Chargers at full strength, and their other win was against the Colts that just could not in any way, shape, or form get things going for them. And now they're going up against their toughest opponent yet, the 3-0 Eagles, who have looked really, really good through 3 weeks. But can the Jaguars pull the upset?
This was almost, I would originally had this as my guarantee with the Eagles, and then I thought, I need a safe guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles probably the best team in the league right now versus the Jaguars, and I don't trust it fully that the Eagles are going to win this game.
Yeah.
I'm still picking the Eagles, but I think the Jaguars are going to be very, very sneaky good, and I feel like I know what's going to come out of your mouth next.
Oh no, I'm picking the Eagles.
Oh, okay, cool.
I want to believe in the Jaguars, but this is the biggest test for them. And if they can beat them, if they beat the Eagles,
the Jaguars are they have arrived.
Yeah, I will be swimming in the love of this team. I'll be so into all of it. But right now, I'm picking the Eagles only because I think the Eagles have shown through 3 weeks how really dominant they are on both sides. I think they've been the best team in the NFL through 3 weeks. I know that the Bills have had some really great games and maybe should still be considered in the conversation despite the Dolphins loss, but you can't deny a 3-0 Eagles team like this right now.
You know what's wild?
What's that?
The past 2 games, the Eagles have scored 24 points in the first half and 0 points in the second half.
That's crazy, actually, now I think about that. I did not think about that before, but maybe I don't know, man. That is interesting. I did not think through that very clearly then, but I'm still believing in the Eagles for now.
All right. And next up, the New York Jets coming off of their loss to the Bengals against the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off of their loss to the Starfish. Mitch Trubisky still the quarterback. Joe Flacco's still the quarterback. I don't think Zach Wilson's coming back quite yet. Will Joe Flacco continue to prove himself and give the Jets a chance on offense, or Or will the Steelers find a way to succeed?
No, this was the week that I thought that Zach Wilson was coming back this week.
Oh, maybe he is.
This was at least the game that Salah said that he would be coming back. I don't know if that's locked in or anything.
It says he is still on track for a Week 4 return.
So that would be this week then.
Yep.
Regardless, this was initially my team chaos with the Jets. I changed it last minute because I liked another option a little bit better. I just feel like the Steelers, they haven't won a game yet with TJ Watt without TJ Watt. And they will continue to not have him for a couple of weeks here. But I think that if there's any team that you could beat, it's the team that has 3 left tackles on the IR, a potential injured quarterback kind of coming back and maybe not being 100% just yet, and a defense that just hasn't really shown up quite yet for this team, but has good weapons. I'm going with Steelers.
I will also go with Steelers. They still have a good defense outside of TJ Watt, and Jets are really sneaky though.
They're 100%. No, I gave a
lot
of reasons. I gave a lot of reasons why I don't think that they're going to win, but there is a part of the Jets that is kind of like they're sniffing. They're sniffing for some chaos.
Yep.
Right there. So that's why I did want to chaos the Jets, but again, it was just I liked another option better, and we could talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
I'm next. Yes, Bills at Ravens. This is a game between. This is a big game.
Yeah.
2 teams that should be AFC contenders throughout the season. Lamar Jackson playing out of his mind well. Josh Allen having been played as an MVP through at least the first 2 weeks. They stumbled last week, but will the Bills bounce back in this game, Matt?
I still have to believe the Bills, like, I compare a lot of like what happened to teams the previous week and then compare that team to this team. And the Ravens beat the Patriots, but the Patriots offense did a lot to the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Bills offense is going to have a much better time against the Ravens defense than the Patriots offense did, who still had a really good time. I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game no matter what. I'm going to pick the Bills, but it's not as confident as it maybe would have been before the Dolphins game.
Yeah, I feel like the Ravens have had a rough go of it in terms of their defense this year. Things not quite working out, especially in the secondary for them. And I'd like the Bills to bounce back in this game. It just doesn't. It would be wild to see them lose 2 in a row. It could happen though. This is just a tough 2-game stretch for them.
Yes.
But I also still believe in this Bills team. I still think they have a good enough defense despite the players that they are missing at the moment. And you just have to hope that they're and I also their offensive line is sneaky not great for the Bills. So that's the other thing I'm a little worried about. But beyond that, I believe in them. I'm picking them.
All right. Los Angeles Chargers 1-2, which is so sad to see. Take on the Houston Texans 0-2-1. Chargers had a rough go against Jacksonville, but now they're facing the bottom of the barrel in the Houston Texans. Can they scrape out a win from this said barrel?
Yeah, it's really been not great. Like the Texans just have not been very good this year in many regards. Even in, like the coaching has not really been great. I think Dameon Pierce has had like a few moments, but has not really emerged as this major star yet. And then, of course, Davis Mills not really. I think a lot of people were hoping, oh, maybe he's just going to be the franchise quarterback. He has not shown that in the last few weeks. I think that this, despite the struggles for the Chargers, I really think that this should be a win for them. I think the Texans beat them last year. They get revenge here in the in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers too. I've lived more Lovie Smith coaching than most people have.
You really have, actually.
I really have.
Oh, the Bears and Illinois
and Illini. Like I was for context. I was at Illinois for Lovie's first 2 years there.
Mm-hmm.
And Lovie Smith is certainly a football coach. I love him to death. He cannot call timeouts effectively.
Mm-hmm. And he plays very conservatively. It's
very
so
too conservatively. I'm picking the Chargers.
Yeah,
he does not want to take risks.
Yeah, I am picking the Chargers as well. Did I already say that? I already said that.
Yes.
Never mind. The Cardinals at the Panthers. Kyler Murray, has had this team as a whole has had a kind of a rough start to the year, which is unlike previous Cliff Kingsbury seasons where it felt like they would come strong out of the gate and then struggle down the stretch. Maybe it's reverse psychology this time. But now you have a Panthers team that actually has a little bit of hope, reinvigorated them a little bit in the beatdown of the Saints. What do you think's going to happen in this game, Matt?
I'm actually going to pick the Panthers because, the Cardinals should be, the obvious choice. I think the Panthers are actually favored, but Panthers defense showed up a bit against the Saints. The Cardinals offense just looks so bad. And I think that the Panthers can get enough going. Cardinals defense is not that good. I don't think the Panthers are going to light the world on fire, and I'm not, super confident in them, but just for something to mix something up, I'm gonna pick the Panthers here.
Yeah, this was the hardest game to pick this week. I think that this is two teams that it's really kind of confusing what they are, who they are, what they're supposed to be. I really struggled in trying to figure out who I was gonna pick. I think I'm going to land on the Panthers as well. I don't really love this team, but I also don't really love the Cardinals, and it's also one of those games where they are traveling across. I do take travel into consideration as well. They're traveling across the country. They are still playing at the time that they would be playing on the West Coast, but
yeah,
it just... Things are just not smelling great in either organization. I just think maybe the Panthers will bounce back in this game.
Will either of these losses kick the head coach out?
I don't think you get Cliff Kingsbury fired until the end of the year. Just because of the contract situation and the way that they kind of gave this vote of confidence before the season. If the Panthers lose this game, it could happen. I think that the Panthers are gonna have to go on maybe a bit of a losing streak before then, though. But
yeah,
if I'm just saying who's more likely, probably Matt Rule.
Yeah, I agree. All right, New England Patriots take on the Green Bay Packers. Brian Hoyer for president.
God.
Starting for New England with Mac Jones out. Green Bay, they seem to be super solid. Rodgers has his receiving core figured out. Romeo Doubs is starting to emerge as a nice option for him. Which, if you don't have him in fantasy, get him in fantasy. We should have drafted him in fantasy like I did. Is there any chance for New England, Chris?
Not a chance. I mean, the Mac Jones was at times an actual asset for this team last week. But he himself has struggled, and now you're asking Brian Hoyer to show up and play well. It's weird. There was a Patriots fan that I forget where I saw this. It was either a video or on Twitter, but someone was making the case they should be starting Bailey Zappi or whatever the hell his name is, the rookie. Just might as well just throw him in there, see what he got, because we kind of know who Brian Hoyer is at this point. But I think this is an easy win for the Pack.
I think so as well.
Next up, the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been a weird season for the AFC West. The Broncos somehow are 2-1 despite all the weirdness surrounding their team, and the Las Vegas Raiders are 0-3 despite all the weirdness around their team. What the fuck is this game going to be, Matt?
I think the Broncos are maybe running out of karma. And the Raiders are due a little bit of karma. Solely based on the record, I'm going to make my Raiders my Team Chaos.
And I will second that Team Chaos.
All right, cool. So combined guaranteeing chaos.
It was legitimately, like, I looked at the Raiders. Once I told you, we were talking before the podcast. Most of the time, we look at the spread, and if it's more than like 3 points, then usually that's a good Team Chaos to pick.
Yeah.
But because of the circumstances of this week specifically, it was brutal trying to pick one. So I was reminded, both of us, that, like, hey, we also could just pick based off of record. And I think an 0-3 Raiders beating a 2-1 Broncos, even though the Raiders are favored in this game, I think that's enough for chaos, and I'm cool with agreeing on that.
Cool.
So, we stand in solidarity to get. At this point, I don't even care about the differences in us picking different guarantees and chaoses. I want you to get a W in either one of these.
Oh
finally.
my god, just one.
It's been a rough 3-week stretch. You need to get a W somewhere here. So there you go.
All right. Sunday night, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mahomes versus Brady, the NFL producers salivating matchup. A Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago.
Sure.
Tampa Bay, they'll get Mike Evans back. Still having a ton of receiver trouble. Overall, Kansas City underperformed last week. Will they bounce back against a good Tampa Bay defense?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this Chiefs this Chiefs team in general has, like, they tend to bounce back well after a defeat, but I feel like this Bucs team, they did not perform well against the Pack last week, but I just kind of believe in them. I kind of see this defense playing really, really well, and I feel like Mike Evans is going to be a huge get back for the Bucs.
Yeah.
I like the Bucs in this game. I'm gonna pick them. It's weird. Like, I don't pick against the Chiefs willingly, but, like, there's just something about this matchup that just feels like it's gonna be a Bucs win. So I'm gonna go Bucs.
I will defer and pick the Chiefs here.
Sounds good. And finally, Monday Night Football, Los Angeles Rams at San Francisco 49ers. It's been, a weird start for, I think, everyone, but the Rams, 2-1, things could have been worse for them. They've not been this dominant team, but they're on a 2-game winning streak at least right now. 49ers, it's been kind of a disaster, and Jimmy G is not the savior yet for them. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I think this is going to be a very sneaky, bad game that the 49ers are also involved in. The LA Rams offense does not make sense to me. It should make sense on paper, but it just doesn't right now. I still think the Rams are going to win, but both teams just feel in this weird area to me.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams pretty solidly. I feel like it's weird the way that the 49ers have been playing, especially on offense. Like, this should be Shanahan's bag, that at the very least the team could look competent, and they did not last week. The defense is going to be the reason why they win this game if they do it, but I kind of like what the Rams are doing. I think that the bad vibes that usually come with the Rams facing the 49ers and that they usually lose to the 49ers, I think that was finally broken in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to really lean on that unless it happens again, then maybe it's still there. But I'm going Rams.
All right.
So that is, by my count, 3 disagreements, none
of them chaos.
None of them chaos or guarantee.
Yep.
And that does not count the current status of the Dolphins-Bengals picks. But if Teddy plays, that will be our 4th disagreement. You think the Bengals would win in that situation?
Yes.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
And that if Tua is active, I will consider the Dolphins. If they pull a fast one on me and Tua is active, but Teddy is playing most of the game, I will be upset.
All right, so then you're basically saying if Tua is active, not necessarily starting, if he's active.
Yeah, or if they say he's active but Teddy Bridgewater will get the start, then I will switch to the Bengals.
Okay,
we'll play it by ear.
Yeah, all right. So,
I don't think they would do that. That's such a weird niche scenario that Tua is either going to be active and the starter, or he's not going to be active.
They've done that. It has happened in the past where a quarterback is active.
Happened one year with Chase Edmonds and David Johnson on the Cardinals, where they said, okay, David Johnson's active, and then he didn't play like the whole game. Chase Edmonds had a monster fantasy game, but because David Johnson was active, nobody played Chase Edmonds and everyone played David Johnson. And then the Arizona Cardinals Twitter account said, like, you should have started Chase Edmonds in fantasy. And then everyone got mad at them.
Yeah. I think it's possible that they pull those shenanigans, but I think we'll know for sure what's going to happen by the time the inactive stuff comes in on Thursday night, which should be like, I don't know, 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern. We'll have a good idea what's happening. So, yeah. Sounds good. And that is it. Next week, we're killing off some teams. We're just gonna say, you know what? It's over. It's October, and you've not shown us that you're gonna make it to the playoffs, and so you know what? You're dead. You're buried.
Oh boy.
All right.
This is the time of year where we have horribly aged takes.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. This is what I get a backlog of this stuff. Like that's kind of why like, you know, you get the overreactions after week 1. You got the Sheeple, you know, and then we talk about like who we think is going to remain undefeated or not. That already is aged poorly, with the Dolphins being the one that we were like, they're probably not going to be undefeated after this. Fucking of course they are.
Yep.
So it's just this is the age to build up all the bad takes. Yeah, you know, just we got to bask in it. We got to live it, breathe it, love it. Anyways, Matt, we did it.
We did it. That's a podcast.
That is a podcast. Shout out to the finale of Big Brother.
Yes.
That was that. I after what felt like a tumultuous time watching this season, I think it ended on a very high note. I won't spoil anything more beyond that, because in case you haven't seen it yet. And then Survivor's starting. It has started. And I have to still watch the full first episode, but good shit happening in terms of TV and media. We will probably be referencing Survivor across the season as we usually do.
Yes, please. Like, now that Big Brother is out of my fucking life for another 9 months.
Sure. For the time being.
2 seasons of Survivor.
Here you are.
Playing orgs or hosting orgs. Like, it's the good season of the year.
It is the good season of the year, indeed. Anyways, folks, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.